Good morning, Matrix. How are you this fine morning? Guys, what I'd like to do with you today is the poem by John Donne. It's called The Good Morrow. Now, John Donne was a metaphysical poet. Metaphysical poets did things differently. Meta means above. Physical means the things of the earth. So they dealt with things and topics that were very different from the previous poets. You can pick up their poetry almost immediately by their startling introductions. So if we look at The Good Morrow, John Donne says, "I wonder by my troth what thou and I did till we loved." So he's talking first person. He's using that apostrophe that we spoke about the other day, about speaking to someone who is not there, who possibly is dead, who is speaking to an inanimate object. So here he is speaking to his beloved, and he asks her a rhetorical question. He said, "I wonder in truth, by my troth, what we did before we loved." And he compares their life before they actually met to a life of unawareness, of ignorance, of behaving like children. He compares them to babies at their mother's breast. He said that is the state of immaturity that they were in, and the lack of awareness. So this lack of awareness, this state before they met, is continued through the next couple of lines when he says, "We sucked on country pleasures." He said we were fascinated by simplistic things. And he compares himself to, he says, "Did we snort in the seven sleepers' den?" Now, besides being alliteration there, the seven sleepers, what is happening here, he is comparing himself and his beloved. So the lovers are being compared to seven youths, seven young men who in legends slept for over 100 years in a dark cave. So there is a metaphor there. What is being compared? The lovers are being compared to these youths who slept in a dark cave. So the lovers, like the youths, slept for 100 years. In other words, not literally asleep, but figuratively. They slept in a den of darkness, of ignorance here. So we are talking about the lack of awareness. So it was ignorance, darkness. So you have in the first couple of lines, there is a picture painted of a world very different from the world that Don and his beloved inhabit now. This world was, let's recap, they were like children, weaned at their mother's breast, sleeping in a den of darkness and lack of awareness. So this is the world they inhabited before they met each other. He says, "And now," that's the second stanza, "and now good morrow to our waking souls." He's saying, this is a new state of existence here. Now things are different. And we're not talking about a love that is purely physical. We are talking about a love that transcends the physical. He talks about their waking souls. So it's a kind of transition, transcendence. Their souls have awakened. They are awakened human beings. He says, and they watch each other, not out of fear. So there's no mistrust in their relationship. In fact, they look at each other and they see each other reflected in their eyes. So there's a kind of oneness there. Now that comparison of the lovers to a world of oneness continues throughout the poem. In fact, further down, I think it's line 11, he says, "This love of ours transcends any limitations." There are no limits, there are no controls on their love, and makes one little room and everywhere. So that room that they inhabit together becomes a universe. Their love is the center of the universe. So powerful, so all-encompassing is their love that it becomes a universe separate from the petty, from the mistrust, from the fear that dogs other relationships. Okay. Now remember, it was a time of great expectations, great discoveries. So he says, let's see discoverers to new worlds have gone. Let others make maps. Let maps to others, worlds on worlds have shown. He says, yes, let others go and discover and go to new lands. He says, the land that we have discovered is one world. Each hath one and is one. So they are their own worlds. She is a world, he is a world complete. And they revolve around each other and in fact become one. And then we look at the final stanza and he says, my face in thine eye, thine in mine appears. So they see each other's reflections. Now, we think of the Sufi masters. The Sufi is sort of whether it's a right wing or left wing, a branch of Islam. But these Sufis believed in a God that inhabited everything. And they looked at each other's eyes and they maintained this contact and they could see the souls. Remember what we spoke about? The eyes being the entry to the soul, windows to the soul. So when they look at each other, they see each other's soul reflected. And he says, in their love, there are no sharp corners. There are no excesses. He says they are perfect hemispheres. There's no sharp north. There is no declining west. There is perfect harmony. There is perfect balance within that love. He says, whatever dies was not mixed equally. He said, in some relationships, there has not been an equal balance or an equal mix. So those relationships will die. Not so their relationship. Because he says, if our two loves be one, or thou and I love so alike that none do slacken, none can die. So their love is equal, is in equal proportions. Okay, so guys, if we look at the tone throughout the poem, it is a tone of voice that is passionate, that is excited, that is filled with delight. I'm going to stop there. And guys, what I'd like to do next is just consolidate what we've done. So this is session 3. I'm going to go through questions and answers now from past papers on session 1, session 2, and session 3. So we will do that, and then we will continue with the poems and look at the questions. Au revoir, everybody. Go well.